Lucy Letby, serial killer. Why did she kill? Part 10. We now turn to some of the text messages that Lucy Letby sent and what they might show. On the 14th of June 2015, she sent a message saying, "It's all a bit much," with a kiss on the end. That looks as if she's trying to elicit sympathy. Might it be that this is an individual that has genuine emotional empathy, is saddened by what has happened to the children, and therefore is commenting that it's all a bit much? Or is this simply a cold-hearted killer devoid of emotional empathy looking to elicit sympathy, part of the motivation for why she did as she did? On the same day, she also wrote, "No one should have to see and do the things we do. It's heartbreaking, but it's not about me." Again, this appears to seek sympathy as a consequence of having to deal with very difficult things. But that last sentence is very interesting. Why would she feel compelled to say, "but it's not about me"? Is she thinking, well, here I am complaining about it being heartbreaking, and actually I need to qualify that in the grand scheme of things, my heartbreak is nothing compared to that of the parents, and therefore that is somebody who's showing emotional empathy? Or is it simply the case that she's trying to elicit sympathy and then, in a way, projects by saying it's not about me, when actually the reason why she sends the text message and has behaved in the way that she has is indeed it all being about her, the necessity of asserting control, of potentially drawing fuel, of exercising power over people, alleviating perhaps boredom. On the 22nd of June 2015, she sent a text message which stated, "Sometimes I think, how do such sick babies get through, and others just die so suddenly and unexpectedly? Guess it's how it's meant to be." Bearing in mind that this was an individual that had killed children, she would know, of course, why some survive and others do not, because she was murdering them. Might it be that when she issues this text message, this is exhibiting the necessity of the wielding of power, that she sees these tiny lives fighting for survival, having been born early, and she thinks to herself, it's almost like a flip of a coin. Some survive, some do not. And that there is such power that can be exhibited in determining who makes it and who does not. The manifestation of a God complex. Somebody who believes that they are entitled to make decisions about the lives of somebody else's children, another human being. On the 21st of June 2016, as I mentioned earlier on, she returned from holiday and stated, "Probably be back in with a bang, LOL." Is that foreshadowing the fact that she knew she was going to return and kill, or that she felt some compulsion to draw attention by committing this crime? Was she giving the game away? Why else would you suggest that you will be back in with a bang? Of itself, might it just be simply, I'm going to get back into work and work hard, so you'll notice me? But even then, if it was simply that does appear to be attention-seeking and was a rather strange thing to write in a text message. On the 24th of June 2016, she sent a text message about two brothers. "I'll be watching them both like a hawk." A hawk's a predator. This doesn't suggest, although perhaps this is how she thought it would come across, as somebody that is looking out for the care of the two brothers, looking over them. But instead, there was a disconnect because of the absence of emotional empathy, and rather than try and convey the sentiment of, I'm watching over them like a guardian angel. Instead, she belies her true intents by making reference to a hawk. It's often the case with psychopaths that their response doesn't match the surroundings, where, of course, you have a low-functioning one. Letby certainly wasn't thick. She had a degree. However, many of her behaviours don't necessarily sit with being the sharpest individual, and might it be an instance there where, if she was a psychopath, she has responded with a response which isn't representative of the circumstances around her. She sent a text message on the 27th of June 2016 when she started to come under suspicion. She stated, "My head is a mess. There must be a problem." Again, this looks as though she's trying to elicit sympathy as a consequence of problems now arising. That's just a small smattering of the text messages that she sent to give us some further views as to what was going on in her mind and what that might demonstrate. Letby also searched Facebook for the families of her victims. She would often search for a number of them within minutes of each other, seemingly going one by one, hunting for grief, the prosecution said. She looked them up on the anniversaries of their babies' deaths, and even carried out searches on Christmas Day. In evidence, Letby said she would search for all sorts of people, not just the parents of babies on the unit. This searching, first of all, as I mentioned earlier, demonstrates an absence of boundary recognition and a rather unhealthy interest in the lives of people who she was there simply to help. You might think, well, she has a curiosity about these people. She may well have formed a bond with them, brought together in difficult circumstances, perhaps for quite a period of time. It would only be natural for her to perhaps want to see how they were doing thereafter. And therefore, that is demonstrative of emotional empathy. Or is it the case that in actual fact, the anniversary of their deaths brings the families up on her radar, and therefore creates a necessity of needing to have control over them? And therefore, in order to seek that control, she's not in a position to ring them up. She can't talk about them to other people, but it necessitates her looking them up to see if they are talking about the death of their child. And in so doing, because she knows that she killed that child, their reaction to that, a year later, provides her with fuel and a subconscious sense of control. Might it go further than that? Might it be a conscious desire to check in on their suffering, knowing that it's a year from when they had died, and wanting to see how upset they remain, because she knows that she caused that upset, that she wants to see a reaction to it, and that she would even search for them on Christmas Day, because she would know that that would be a day that ordinarily people are with family, that is meant to be a joyous occasion, and that these families may still be grieving the loss of a child, particularly on an anniversary, such as Christmas Day. Is this demonstrative of a sadistic streak within Letby to want to continue to hang around like a ghoul over the grief of these individuals? You can consider this evidence as it continues to accumulate against the backdrop of what we have heard so far. Next, in part 11, we're going to examine the handwritten notes that she had created and what they tell us about what she might be.